On a quiet November night in 2022, a brutal crime would shatter the calm of Moscow, Idaho, leaving the entire nation stunned. Four University of Idaho students, Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogen, Zana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, were savagely murdered in their off-campus home. What followed was a months-long investigation that led to the shocking arrest of Brian Kohberger, a PhD student with no apparent connection to the victims. Today, we're diving into the full story of the Idaho University murders, examining the timeline, the victims, the investigation, and the chilling arrest of the prime suspect. Stay with us because this case is filled with shocking twists, and it's one you'll never forget. Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogen, Zana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, all young, vibrant, and full of life. Kaylee and Madison were inseparable best friends, both 21 years old and majoring in communications. Zana, 20, and her boyfriend Ethan, also 20, were described as the perfect couple. They were attending the University of Idaho, enjoying what was supposed to be some of the best years of their lives. But on the night of November 12, 2022, a brutal attack would turn their lives into a nightmare. The next morning, on November 13th, police responded to a 911 call made by a roommate who reported an unconscious person inside the house. What officers found was far more horrifying: the bodies of Kaylee, Madison, Zana, and Ethan, all brutally murdered. There were no signs of forced entry, and the scene was described as gruesome by investigators. Two other roommates who had been inside the house during the killings were unharmed, which added an even deeper layer of mystery. Within hours, the Moscow Police Department, with the assistance of the FBI and Idaho State Police, launched an investigation. But despite the immediate attention, answers were scarce. No weapon was found, no suspects were named, and no clear motive was apparent. As the days turned into weeks, fear spread through the small college town. Students were afraid to return to campus. Families demanded answers. How could such a brutal crime happen in a home with 6 people inside? And why hadn't the killer been caught? Investigators began combing through hours of surveillance footage, phone records, and digital evidence. They were able to determine that Kaylee had been trying to contact her ex-boyfriend shortly before the murders, but he was quickly ruled out as a suspect. With no obvious leads, the case seemed to be growing colder by the day. Then, on December 30th, 2022, just over 6 weeks after the murders, police made a shocking announcement: an arrest had been made. Brian Kohberger, a 28-year-old criminology PhD student at Washington State University, was taken into custody at his parents' home in Pennsylvania. Over 2,500 miles from the crime scene, Kohberger had been under surveillance for weeks. After investigators linked him to the crime through a combination of forensic evidence and digital footprints, his white Hyundai Elantra had been spotted near the crime scene on the night of the murders, and more chillingly, DNA found on a knife sheath left at the scene matched Kohberger's genetic profile. The arrest shocked the nation. Kohberger had no known connection to the victims, and the question on everyone's mind was simple: why? What could have driven a PhD student studying criminal justice to commit such a horrific crime? Kohberger was charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and burglary. Despite his arrest, the details of his motive remain unclear, and Kohberger has maintained his innocence. Though Brian Kohberger's arrest brought some relief to the families and the community, the emotional toll of the murders remains profound. The University of Idaho and the town of Moscow are forever changed by this senseless act of violence. As of today, the case is moving through the courts, with Kohberger awaiting trial. While the evidence against him seems strong, he has yet to confess, and many questions remain unanswered. What was the motive? How did he select his victims? And most haunting of all, could he have been planning to strike again? The trial will likely reveal more about what truly happened that night in November, but for the victims' families, nothing will bring back their loved ones. The community continues to mourn Kaylee, Madison, Zana, and Ethan, whose lives were taken far too soon. The Idaho University murders are a chilling reminder of how life can be tragically and suddenly cut short. As the investigation continues and more details emerge, one thing remains clear: the lives lost on that cold November night will never be forgotten. What do you think about the case? Is Brian Kohberger guilty, or is there more to the story? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the most gripping true crime stories. Stay safe and stay curious.